Hello, my students. Today we're going to be talking about the private victory chapter. This is starting on page 29 in your book. And even though I'm going to be highlighting the text, of course, you guys are not highlighting in this text. This one's just a read. And you can write in the notebook when we get to it in the next video. So let's take a quick peek. We're going to be doing this private victory chapter and only doing habit 1. So this chapter is about the personal bank account, starting with the man in the mirror. Down here, it goes through a little song you might recognize. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. You guys recognize that song? That song is one of Michael Jackson's. Before you'll ever win in the public arenas of life, you must first win the battles with yourself. All changes begin with you. I'll never forget how I learned this lesson. What's wrong with you? You're disappointing me. Where's the Sean I once knew in high school? Coach glared at me. Do you even want to be out here? I was shocked. Yes, of course. Oh, give me a break. You're just going through the motions and your heart's not in it. You better get your act together or the younger quarterbacks will pass you up and you'll be a bench warmer. It was my sophomore year at Brigham Young University during preseason football camp. Several colleges recruited me straight out of high school, but I chose BYU because they had the tradition of bringing up All-American quarterbacks like Jim McMahon, Steve Young, both of whom went to the pros and led their teams to Super Bowl victories. Although I was the third string quarterback at the time, I planned on being the next All-American. When Coach told me I was the stinking up the field, it came as a cold, hard slap in the face. The thing that really bugged me was that he was right. Even though I was spending long hours practicing, I wasn't truly committed. I was holding back and I knew it. I had a hard decision to make and I had to either quit football or triple my commitment. Over the next several weeks, I waged a war inside my head. I came face to face with many fears and self-doubts. Did I have what it took to be the starting quarterback? Could I handle the pressure? Was I big enough? It soon became clear to me that I was scared of competing, scared of being in the limelight, scared of trying and perhaps failing. All these fears were holding me back from giving it my all. There's a great quote by Arnold Bennett that describes what I finally decided to do about my dilemma. He wrote, "The real tragedy is the tragedy of a man who never in his life braces himself for the one supreme effort. He never stretches to his full capacity, never stands up to his full stature." Have you never enjoyed tragedy? I decided to brace myself for one supreme effort. So I committed to give it my all. I decided to stop holding back and to start laying it all on the line. I didn't know if I would ever get a chance to be first string, but if I didn't, at least I was going to strike out swinging. No one heard me say, "I commit." There was no applause. It was simply a private battle that I fought and won inside my own mind over a period of several weeks. Once I committed myself, everything changed. I began taking chances and making big improvements on the field. My heart was in it now, and I knew it, and the coaches saw that. As the season began and the games rolled one by one, I sat out on the bench. Although frustrated, I kept working hard and kept improving. By mid-season, featured the big game of the year, and we were to play nationally ranked Air Force on ESPN in front of 65,000 fans. A week before that game, Coach called me to his office and told me I'd be the starting quarterback. Gulp. Needless to say, that was the longest week of my life. Game day finally arrived, and at kickoff, my mouth was so dry I could barely talk. But after a few minutes, I settled down and led our team to victory. I was even named the ESPN Player of the Game. Afterward, lots of people congratulated me on the victory and my performance. That felt good, but they didn't really understand. They didn't know the full story. They thought that victory had taken place on the field that day in the public eye. I knew it happened months before in the privacy of my own head when I decided to face my fears, to stop holding back and to brace myself for one supreme effort. Beating Air Force was a much easier challenge than overcoming myself. Private victories always come before public victories. As the saying goes, we have met the enemy and he is us. Inside out. We crawl before we walk. We learn addition before algebra. We must fix ourselves before we can fix others. If you want to make a change in your life, the place to begin is with yourself, not with your parents, your teacher, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. All change begins with YOU. Think about it. It's inside out, not outside in. I am reminded of the writings of an Anglican bishop. So feel free to read through this chapter until this section here, and now let's talk about the personal bank account. How you feel about yourself is like a bank account. Let's call it your personal bank account or your PBA. Just like a checking or savings account at a bank, you can make deposits in and withdrawals from your PBA by the things you say and do. For example, when I stick to a commitment that I've made to myself, I feel in control. It's a deposit. Cha-ching. On the other hand, when I break a promise to myself and I feel that I've disappointed and make a withdrawal. So let me ask you, how is your personal bank account? How much trust and confidence do you have in yourself? Are you loaded or bankrupt? The symptoms listed below might help you evaluate where you stand. Possible symptoms of a low personal bank account. You cave into peer pressure easily. You wrestle with feelings of worthlessness and inferiority. You're overly concerned about what others think of you. You act arrogant to help hide your insecurities. You self-destruct by getting heavily into drugs or pornography or games. You get jealous easily, especially when someone close to you succeeds. Possible symptoms of a healthy personal bank account. You stand up for yourself and resist peer pressure. You're not overly concerned about being popular. You see life as a generally positive experience. You trust yourself, you are goal-driven, and you are happy for the success of others. If your personal bank account is low, don't get discouraged. It doesn't have to be permanent. Just start making small, humble deposits today. Deposits worth $1, $5, or $10, and you'll feel your confidence growing. Small deposits over a long period of time on the way lead to a healthy and rich personal bank account. With the help of the various team groups, I've compiled a list of 6 key deposits that can help you build your PBA. Just like Newton's law of motion, with every deposit, there's an equal and opposite withdrawal. Keep promises to yourself is number 1. Have you ever had flaky friends? They say they'll text you back and then they don't. They promise to hang out on the weekend and they forget. After a while, you stop trusting them. Their commitments mean nothing. The same thing happens when you continually make and break self-promises. Like, I'm going to study right when I get home, but you don't. After a while of flaking out on yourself, you don't trust yourself either. We should treat the commitments we make to ourselves as seriously as those we make to other important people in our lives. After you've built up some self-trust, you can then go for a more difficult, like something like deciding to break up with an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend, or making up your mind to overcome an addiction. Next, do small acts of kindness. I remember reading a statement by a psychiatrist who said that if you're feeling depressed, the best thing to do is to do something for someone else. Why? Because it gets you focused outward, not inward. It's hard to be depressed while helping someone else. Ironically, a byproduct of serving others is feeling wonderful yourself. I remember sitting in an airport one day waiting for my flight. I was excited because I'd been upgraded to first class. Feel free to continue reading his story here of what he did for his act of kindness. There's also a little story about a girl in the neighborhood below. Next one, be gentle with yourself. Being gentle means many things. It means not expecting yourself to be perfect. If you're a late bloomer, as many of us are, be patient. Allow yourself enough time to grow. It means learning to laugh at the stupid things you do. Feel free to read a little bit here about what he tells as his be gentle with himself. Next one is be honest. I Googled the word honest the other day, and there are a few related words I found. Upstanding, incorruptible, moral, principled, truth-loving, steadfast, true, real, right, good, straight-shooting, genuine. Not a bad set of words to be associated with. Honesty comes in many forms. First, there's self-honesty. When people look at you, do they see a genuine article, or do you appear to be made through smoke and mirrors? I find that if I'm ever fake and try to be something I'm not, I feel unsure of myself, and I make a personal bank account withdrawal. Next is renew yourself. You've got to take time for yourself to renew and to relax. If you don't, you'll get burned out and lose your zest for life. Seems like half the planet has seen the movie Avatar, the highest grossing film of all time. Why was it so successful? Besides groundbreaking special effects and great filmmaking, I believe the story hits home because we all need to practice what it's preaching. The story takes place in the year 2154 on Pandora, a forested moon of the Alpha Centauri system. It revolves around the character of Jake Sully, a former Marine now paralyzed, confined to a wheelchair, trapped and unfulfilled. Being able to mentally live through his avatar, a 10-foot tall replica of the planet's blue natives, he first feels alive because he can run and enjoy a working body, even if it's only in his mind, but it quickly becomes much more. Mehmet. Meeting the natives, Jake falls in love with Neytiri, a female Na'vi native. The more time he spends with Neytiri and her people, the more he comes to see the beauty and peace and power of their world. The message here is about rejuvenation, about unplugging, about taking time to listen to the natural world around us. Feel free to read through a little bit more about that one. Next one is magnify your talent. Finding and then developing a talent, a hobby, or a passion can be one of the single greatest deposits you can make into your personal bank account. Why is it that when we think of talents, we think of traditional high-profile talents like athlete, dancer, award-winning scholar? The truth is, talents come in a variety of packages. Don't think small. You may have a knack for reading, writing, speaking. You have a gift of rhythm, hilarious, remembering details, being accepting of others. You may have organizational, musical, or leadership skills. It doesn't matter whether your talent may lie. Whether it's chess, drama, or skateboarding, when you do something you like doing and have a talent for it, it's exhilarating. It's a form of self-expression. Feel free to keep reading that section if you'd like to. And then you can go all the way to page 46 of that chapter. So now taking out your notebook, starting on page 9, the first 3 habits with private victory deal with, and then we're going to list out the 3 habits. We listed out 7 of them before in the first few pages, so you could flip back and look. Habit 1 was be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. And habit 3 is put first things first. What have you done lately to exercise self-discipline? Exercising, waking up on time, studying, controlling temper. Write your answer in the box below. So maybe you have been exercising. You could list that out here. Maybe you have been waking up at a certain time every morning because your mom tells you to or because you want to, just to try to get up a little bit earlier. Great. But whatever you think of as self-discipline, maybe you've been doing your fruits and veggies from our wellness journal. I don't know, but you could list anything here that you're feeling like. To get a clear picture of your personal bank account, review the deposits and withdrawals you make during a week. Suppose each deposit you make is worth $1 up to $100. However, withdrawals cost from $50 to $200. You determine how much you should deposit or deduct. Keep track of your total using the form on the next page. See how much you can deposit in a week and make as few withdrawals as possible. We're going to be keeping track here. You're going to be making up the numbers of what they add and what they minus, but you could use these same numbers that are already here. So I'll give you a little bit more detail on this one here in just a second. So stood up for something I believe, read a book just for fun, accepted myself as I am, gossiped about a friend. Description of a depositor with, maybe it's act of kindness. Maybe it's make dinner for my family or clean up some mess that I made. Maybe it's that you fight with your sibling. Maybe it's that you didn't text a friend back that you told them that you would. So the good things are going to be giving you pluses over here. So an act of kindness, that's a pretty good one. I'm going to put 100. Making dinner, I'm going to make that 50. Cleaning something up, we can do that throughout the day. All those little things, I'll just call that 25. Fight with a sibling, we probably do that all the time. I'm just going to go ahead and put maybe minus 50. And then didn't text a friend back. Somebody might be mad. I don't know, minus 75. But whatever these things are that you decide on the amounts, if you do them again throughout the week, you can add the same amount. If you do the negative things again, you can subtract the same amount. And you're going to keep track to at the very end, what's your total? And at the very end, what are we subtracting? And we're looking to see what our personal bank balance is.